sweet time going live. There we are. We're live now. Hello, YouTube. Hello. Welcome to your Songwriting 101. And today we are pretty much doing a continuation of yesterday, which has made me realise that I actually haven't got my notebook in front of me. Wait. Haha, it's within reach. Everything's fine. So let me turn to the right page. And just to recap, everybody, what we were doing yesterday and indeed all of this week is we were doing this colour association exercise, which is my favourite exercise to do with any level of songwriter, to be honest. Beginners to seasoned pros, this is always a fun exercise, and it's interesting how it changes over time for you as well when you first start doing it versus when you've been doing it for a really long time. Our colour was pink, so we were thinking about how many different things that we associate with pink. And I did one, and then Chris did one as well. So which is sort of where we left off yesterday, was thinking of how we can link up his two concepts that jumped out at him. Just as it's funny, I've seen he's cleaning his glasses with the cloth, which was on his list as well. So the two things that we were trying to link up together was detention and nostalgia. So we're trying to link those two concepts together to make some sort of introduction into our lyrical future. So, Chris, your homework was to go away and have a think about it. So I wonder, how did you get on with that?
So I'll be completely honest. I didn't spend lots and lots of time. I had more kind of questions, but I will tell you what I've got to. And
cool.
And this,
oh no!
How far it goes, and this is how you can hear it at the moment. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can now. Yeah, you disappeared for a bit, but I think you're back now.
We'll see how we get on. So this is literally to the extent I've got was just the pink detention slip that I tried to hide is the next line, and then I was going to try and rhyme something with slip, which I couldn't do, and hide, and nothing really came to me, and that's about as far as I could get with it. And I was going round and round in circles, and I was like,
just got stuck. Yeah, okay. So I think a lot of that was it seemed to me that your struggle was placing too much value on the rhyme rather than the content itself. And that's a trap that a lot of writers fall into.
Yeah. Yes, I think it probably was, yeah.
And there's one way that we can kind of get completely out of that, which is one thing that I was going to mention to you today. We were talking about the detention slip, and that's what you focused on in there. But when we were thinking about how we can connect that to the feeling of nostalgia, there's actually 3 different ways that you can make that into a metaphor, or at least the start of a metaphor anyway. So the first way is you kind of have to assign X and Y to each of those concepts. So if we're going to say detention is X and nostalgia is Y, so what we do is we can either say the X of Y or the other way around, the Y of X, whichever. You can say, so that would be the nostalgia of detention, for example, and then you'd have to fill in the rest of the line. Or vice versa, you could say the detention of nostalgia, and that gives a completely different vibe. Now we're thinking that nostalgia is some sort of prison that we can't escape. And so that's the first kind of thing that you can do to connect those two concepts up. And then the next one is you could kind of put an apostrophe S next to one of them. So you can say detention's nostalgia, or other way around, nostalgia's detention. And then that's 2 ways that you can clearly link those 2 lines up together, and you have to still write the next half of it to make it make sense. But that's one thing that I love to do when I'm writing, is to just straight away make it into a metaphor rather than trying to have to think of different ways that you can put these 2 things together. If you just put them together straight away in the first half of the first line, then that way your theme is really clear, it's really set. And yeah, you have to do a little bit more work in completing to get a full line out of that, but the work is worth it because you get a stronger lyric.
Yeah, okay, that's loads to think about. So I've just written that all down. Okay, there's a lot there. Detention.
Oh no, guys, we've lost Chris. do 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 do. He's still not back and it's getting pretty high now. Da 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 da. Still no Chris, no, still no Chris. Is he back yet? No. So I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm actually really interested to hear which bits are going to resonate with Chris when we have a return. Ah, here he is. Hello.
I don't. What I find interesting, I would like to know. I haven't watched it back, is to see what is actually being still broadcasted. Do you see what I'm saying? We're both still there to everybody, but I don't know. Like, it depends, I guess, whose internet cuts out. But I'll look back and see. Yeah. So look, I think it's interesting. I was just saying that, like, Nostalgia's Detention sounds like a band's name or something.
Yeah, it does.
It ends up, my brain just fixates on that specific thing. So I feel like the X of Y or the Y of X might be better. Thanks, Mark. Who cuts out? Was it me or Cloudy? Just out of interest. It's Cloudy. Okay,
it's me.
I see that.
Also,
cool.
Hi Mark. Thanks so much for joining. Big love to you. He's a massive supporter, so I just want to give him a bit of a shout out because thank you.
Thanks, Mark. It's appreciated. So, okay, cool. Yeah, let's go with the nostalgia of Detention.
Cool.
I've got, like, do you know what it is? What this has done to me is it's like put me right back into school, and all I can think about is everything school related.
Cool. That means it's working.
That's why I feel like I'm stuck in that at the moment. So that's why I go for that way round, like rather than the tension of nostalgia. It feels like it kind of my brain's gone that way. So the nostalgia of Detention, and then again next I have nowhere else to go. Like it just sort of
stops. Yeah. Well, you can kind of finish the sentence by talking about the impact that has on you. So you can say, the nostalgia of Detention hits me like a truck, or whatever it is that's going to be the second half. But if you sort of qualify it so that it's about what's happening to you and describe what's happening in relation to that nostalgia, like why have you brought the nostalgia up? Is it because it's like affecting you physically, like it makes your heart race or all that sort of stuff, or is it because it's started a memory, or all that kind of thing? So you sort of need to relate it to how it's affecting you as the protagonist or whoever the character that this song is about.
Nostalgia of Detention. My brain just goes blank. Like I hear all the stuff that you're saying, it makes sense. Like I feel like it's more of a mental block than anything else. Well, it is clearly a mental block because all this is words. So, but it's trying to get like past this, that I've always avoided lyrics because I just sit there and I go round and round in circles.
Sure.
And I just don't like. I like it's got give me something, but then I just fixate on those words and it goes round and round. And
sure.
I don't know whether that's because I'm supposedly dyslexic or whether it's because I know a lot of dyslexic people are really good with words in terms of like, so I don't know whether writing it down is worse or I don't know. I mean, like I find that I look at the page and I'm like, nostalgia and Detention is not fun. That's like literally like about as far as my brain goes.
Sure. But the thing is with that, I mean, that's already a sentence. So you can write that down. And I think a lot of that is accepting that your first few songs are not going to be like hit records, because that's just always what it's going to be. And even now, like after however many years, it's been like 13 years of songwriting for me. And even now, I'm like, I still come out with songs that I think are a bit crap. But that's okay, because it's going to happen. You can't always write a good song. You have to let those crap ones out in order to get to the good stuff.
Like use that analogy with the like rusty water or rusty tap.
Yeah, exactly. So those of you who follow me on TikTok will have seen this video that I did. And it's literally just sort of quoting an Ed Sheeran interview, actually, of all people. But he was saying about how he likens songwriting to this rusty tap, where you turn the tap on and it's all going to be sort of muddy, horrible water for a while. And then suddenly water starts to flow. And every now and then you still get a bit of that horrible stuff that comes out. But that's kind of going to happen in order to have the clean water running the whole time. And that's sort of what songwriting's like. You have to get those out of you in order to get to the good, clean stuff.
So Okay, so just in terms of like actually actioning this, that's the next level. Let's just go with what I've done there. So the nostalgia of the tension is not fun, and then next, because again I'm stuck now. The next point, like, what's the next step to get the next line? What's another?
So
do the same thing.
Yeah, so you can do the same thing and go back. This is what I did in the last one where I was doing my pink list. You can go back and look at other things in the list and see if that links to the concept that you've got. But if nothing on your list links up, then it's not the end of the world, because what you can do there is start asking yourself questions about detention and about why is it not fun, what happened in detention, all that sort of stuff. And then you can start making it a bit more narrative and set that scene a little bit more. And so, you know, lyrics don't have to be super poetic all the time. They can literally be, it was a rainy afternoon one day in September. You know, that's very narrative. It's very descriptive, but it's all valuable because it helps the listener understand where you are in terms of the song world. You know, it all gives context, and that's really important because without context, you can't connect to the material in the song. So I think a lot of it is like accepting that it doesn't all have to be like the most insanely beautiful wording ever. You know, it's just about getting it out a lot. And then once you've kind of got something on the page, you can always go back and edit, adjust, swap words out if they're not vibing with you. But it's about getting something from your brain to the page at first.
So I put the bubble gum under the table.
Yeah, that's all linked. That's good.
Because we had bubble gum as one of the things yesterday. And again, being like back in school, having that bubble gum under the table. So we had like pink, Hubba Bubba,
yeah,
bubble gum, and all of that. And I always think about like accidentally touching the under the table.
Oh God, yeah, right? I remember that.
So I feel like that's something. Bubble gum under the table, you know, shall not be touched.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong vibe to start with. If we've got the nostalgia of detention is not fun, the bubblegum under the table, and then you can either talk about that bubblegum or think of another image that's like the bubblegum that will remind people of that sort of school days of theirs.
I'm just so like stuck now. This is where my brain goes now. Like, is the bubblegum under the table, and then fun. Like, again, I'm stuck on that rhyme. It feels like that's maybe all I was taught at school when doing poetry was that every other line or whatever it might be, that kind of rhyming thing. That's where my brain goes, and that's again like I've just put "shall not be touched" just simply because it's like that's the words that come out of my head, but I don't feel like it goes anywhere trying to make that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You said about kind of like,
well, what you could do, I think a lot of people do struggle with this sort of placing too much importance on the rhyme. But I think once you realize that there's different rhyme schemes and it doesn't have to rhyme in the way that you're expecting, or indeed at all, then you kind of get a bit freer. But what you can do for that specific lyric to make it seem a little bit more kind of motive, I suppose, where you say "shall not be touched," you could say we're all afraid to touch. And then there's an emotion in the center of it, and then that will hopefully help you to build on it.
Okay. And I think what's good about these particular sessions, with me in particular, is the fact that I'm not very good at this. In fact, we had exactly the same for my drum live earlier when we were doing some speed stuff, and then Phil was saying like, "Oh, I'm not as fast as you guys," and I'm like, "You're like, this is with singles and with doubles hitting right, left. He's way faster than me," and it's like that's the point of this stuff. It's good, like, because I think as a student watching this right now, often you're thinking like Cloudy's doing all this stuff, and then you say stuff, and it's like, "Oh, that's all well and good because you can do it." I think the one good thing about seeing me here and really struggling not being able to do it is hopefully people can take this, right? And if you're sitting at home and thinking like, "Oh, this is rubbish," well, good, because you got to like start with. Like, it can't be good to start with. So I'm happy to like continue this journey. I'll try and see if I can come up with some bits over the like next week if it kind of comes to me. I feel randomly motivated to do this, even though I've never had any inkling in songwriting whatsoever. But maybe I have, because I I do write a lot of songs or like pieces of music, but I just don't write the lyrics, and I would like to be able to do it. It's just not something that's ever been a goal of mine. I think it could be quite interesting to see where it ends up.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's another perspective as well that's not just mine. I think it's helpful for people to kind of put themselves in your shoes and sort of, rather than me just kind of presenting this list of stuff that's come from a skill that I've done for so long, you know. And I like being able to teach it, so I'm happy. A quick thing that Danny says in the comments as well is just an important thing which will help you out of this rhyme scheme thing. He was saying there's so many different rhyming schemes. And he's given some examples: A B B, where A rhymes with A and B rhymes with B. A B A B, which is the one you're sort of stuck in. A B A is another example he's given. A is another example. So there's all sorts. You can even have X A, and where X rhymes with nothing. X is just a random thing, and then A is the rhyme. And you can even go X A if you wanted to. You know, there's all sorts of possibilities. So I think the best thing is to try and get your brain out of thinking it must go A B and just concentrate on the content.
Sounds good. Danny, you can come on, maybe if you want to come on the one of them that we do when we get back, not next week, the week after. We can dial you in on Instagram. It's probably just going to be the easiest way, because we can now, Instagram does rooms, so we can do up to 4 or 5 people at once. So we'll do that. And yeah, rap is definitely is a good way to kind of start, I think, just seeing you talking about that there. I think that just explain the A B to some people, because that might even be still further. Obviously, you've got line A, and at the end of that is a word that, and then obviously B doesn't rhyme, and then A rhymes with the first line,
exactly,
line 1, and then B with line 2. Just to explain to anybody that's like, what you're talking about there. I think that's to clarify.
So and basically, again, what it is,
I'm thinking like that so much because like this is all new to me. Obviously, I can connect dots and I understand what that is, but maybe if you're not, when you're watching this and you're like, what's going on here? So especially if you're watching this back when it's not live, guys, send in a to us, because then we can answer that. The next one, we can reply to you. If you go on TikTok, you can send it as a Q&A and we can reply as a video, either one of us. So, you know, definitely do that. Go on to TikTok, either Cloudy's or mine, and we'll do it. And on the CK Music Academy one. So cool. I'll let you wrap it up, Cloudy, and we'll see everyone after the Easter break.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think that was a really good job done today. And I like how these discussions kind of don't necessarily stick to one thing. They kind of go like this, which is great because it means that you get to talk about songwriting as a whole rather than just trying to pinpoint this one thing. So that makes me happy. So I'm glad that we've done that today. Cool. Okay, so I will see you guys after the Easter break. Remember, there is no live classes at all next week.
So, and not just the long bank holiday weekend, we're talking about
like the whole week. Yeah, we'll be back on the 12th, and hopefully we'll have Danny on a stream during that week. So you guys should stay tuned for that. All right, guys, have a lovely Easter. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and we will see you not next week, week after. Bye.